there's a bit of party line. There's a very big legal question hanging over the cases of these two very high-profile individuals. The first is whether or not they were handled in accordance with the law. So currently, the only warrants that cover their detention right now were issued by the Senate and the House. So the first question there is, why are they being detained at the NBI?
Before I even answer your question, I just want to correct any of some of the premises that you made there, which obviously came from hearing just one side of the story, because there's been a lot of misinformation or misimpressions that have been communicated by the other side, by the counsels of Ms. Sheila Guo and Ms. Cassie Ong. First of all, there is basis for the executive department to take custody over both Ms. Guo and Ms. Ong. Let's talk about them separately to keep it clearer, to keep things clearer. Let's talk about Ms. Sheila Guo first. When Ms. Sheila Guo arrived in the Philippines, it was the immigration that took custody over her. And the immigration was able to take custody by virtue of a mission order. A mission order there's actually a document in the case of a mission order. And this is, I guess you can say, this is the version of the Bureau of Immigration of a warrant of arrest. By virtue of the mission order, the Bureau of Immigration can arrest and take custody over foreign nationals for violation of immigration law and initiate deportation proceedings. Now let's proceed to Cassandra Ong. In the case of Cassandra Ong, it seems to us that the evidence is that she is a Filipino. She's not a foreign national. Therefore, we could not subject her to the same process to which Ms. Sheila Guo was subjected to. That is why, shortly after her arrival in the Bureau of Immigration, it was the NBI who conducted a warrantless arrest over Cassandra Ong. Incidentally, NBI also conducted a warrantless arrest on Sheila Guo. And the purpose of the warrantless arrest is for NBI to be able to take custody over the two of them for them to face their criminal charges.
Thank you for that explanation. Let me also just correct you there. It's not that we're only listening to one side of it. It's not that we're only listening to the lawyers of the women. In fact, we also cover a lot of what the government agencies say. It's just that, of course, you understand this is a very complicated case, so we're trying to be as clear about it as possible. My follow-up question to you is, you said the Sheila Guo is being charged for violation of immigration law. What specific immigration law did she violate?
Commonwealth Act 613 is immigration law it governs immigration laws in the Philippines. There's a provision there that when a foreigner presents herself to be a Filipino, that is one form of violation of the immigration law. Aside from that, Sheila Guo was able to exit from the Philippines illegally. She exited from the Philippines not through official ports, official airports, or seaports. That is yet another violation of immigration laws.
I see. So 613 is essentially misrepresentation.
No, it's the Philippine immigration law. It governs every aspect of immigration law in the Philippines, and that has some administrative violations as well as criminal violations.
So it also has criminal implications. I wonder if you could also help us help clear things up with the passport issue. So she is found to have been holding a Chinese passport under the name Zhang Mi-er. What is the violation there exactly?
Well, clearly, she misrepresented herself to be a Filipino. It appears that she misrepresented herself to be a Filipino because despite holding a Filipino passport, which presupposes Filipino citizenship, she still possesses a Chinese passport, which also presupposes Chinese citizenship.
Yusek, Philippine laws allow dual citizenship, though.
Yeah, but not in this case. Do we have dual citizenship for Chinese? It's up to her to prove. It's up to her to prove that there's such a thing as dual nationality between Chinese and Filipinos.
There isn't, actually. I know this for a fact, that China does not allow dual citizenship, but that would be a problem on that side of it. It doesn't concern us, right? So my question there is, if she had obtained a Philippine passport legitimately and was using that here, what possible grounds could she be charged
Okay.
under?
There's another ground for that because she's not Filipino. It appears that she's not Filipino. She can only claim Filipino citizenship if either of her parents are Filipino. And there's a problem. There's a problem with establishing the nationality of either of her parents as Filipinos.
You're 100% confident that she's not a naturalized citizen, that she had obtained that
Oh, oh,
passport illegally?
there is no let's just put it this way. During the inquest proceedings, NBI presented a lot of evidence to be able to charge um, Sheila Guo and Cassandra Ong for the variety of criminal charges that they're subjected to. One of the charges there for at least Sheila Guo was violation of Passport Act, and one of the things that they presented there is a certificate that shows the absence of any naturalization on the part of Miss Sheila Guo's prior alias
Oh, got it.
Or under her Chinese name.
Got it. So there weren't papers for proving her, that she was
Yes.
naturalized. Got it. Thank you.
All right, Yusek, still staying on the topic of passports. Well, the DOJ recently said that it would likely
Yes.
set aside the palace's request to cancel the Philippine passports of this Miss Bamban Mayor Alice Go, together with her companions, because doing so may hinder the process of bringing her back
Yes.
to the Philippines. No, so can you elaborate more on this decision of the DOJ?
Let me clarify that the term set aside. We're not setting it aside. It's just temporarily. Maybe it's just something that we're going to do temporarily for us to be able to facilitate the possible return of Sheila Guo or Wesley Guo if they are indeed apprehended abroad. Because let me just go through what happened shortly after Executive Secretary issued this directive to the DFA and the DOJ to make arrangements for the cancellation of the Guo siblings. The DOJ, DFA, and the NBI met the day after, and we agreed on the process that we would take for the cancellation of the passports. The process was for NBI to write a letter to the DFA and lay down the basis there for the cancellation of the passports of the Guo siblings. And then DFA would undertake the process of administrative cancellation of the passports, meaning there's no court order. It would be the DFA that would have the prerogative to cancel that passport on the ground of misrepresentation or fraudulent securing of the passports. But at the same time, we received information that Sheila Guo and Cassie Ong were apprehended in Indonesia. And that's when we realized that we were in a little bit of a quandary because if we proceeded with the immediate cancellation of the passports, there would be a slight hitch in our desire to immediately bring Sheila Guo home. Okay, and at the same time, there was that question that if we cancel their passports, and in case of Filipinos who don't have passports abroad, what usually happens is that the embassy or the consulate would issue a travel document. Would the embassy or consulate issue of a travel document be inconsistent with our basis for canceling the passport? That is why we decided to, at least temporarily, hold in abeyance the process of canceling passports for us to facilitate the quick return of Sheila Guo.
Yusek, so what's the timeline now? You say, okay, you're setting this aside, the cancellation of the passports. There will be holidays in our country up until Monday. What are we looking
Yes.
at?
We are in close communication, us in the DOJ, the Bureau of Immigration, and NBI, as well as DFA for the passport issue. One thing we just want to know if there's an imminent possibility of being able to bring home Alice Guo or Wesley Guo. If that is the case, we would have to decide if we would indeed proceed with the cancellation of the passport. So perhaps we're giving it a couple of days for us to be able to decide if and when, not if, when we should proceed with the cancellation of the passports. In other words, it's just a matter of timing.
Yusek, in the case of Cassandra Ong, I understand the DOJ wants to charge her with obstruction of justice as well. How can you prove this? What did she obstruct?
Well, the case already went through inquest earlier, and you're correct. Obstruction of justice was one of the crimes for which Cassie Ong was charged. In particular, it's Section 1C of our law on obstruction of justice, which allow me to just read: harboring or concealing or facilitating the escape of any person who he or she knows has reasonable ground to believe or suspect has committed any offense under the existing penal laws in order to prevent arrest or prosecution.
See, Attorney Topacio has already responded to this, saying, essentially, it's a long response, but essentially he's
Yes.
saying that it cannot be harbor. I'm sorry, Attorney Topacio is representing Ong. Essentially, he's saying that the DOJ's arguments are weak. For instance, it can't be. It's hard to prove, essentially, that she personally knew of the legal and criminal activities that you're referring to. I mean, it comes back to the point as well, for instance, with Alice Guo, even her citizenship itself, that case has not been decided, right? So parang how can you accuse her of being of misrepresentation, for instance, if hindi pa nga na-decide that she is indeed a Chinese national? So what's the way forward for you?
Well, first of all, that's understandable for him to say that because he's defense counsel. He would obviously advocate for his client's interests. At the same time, for us on the side of the state, it's understandable for us to advocate for what we are advocating for, which is the proper prosecution of people that we deem should be prosecuted for violating our penal laws. And those issues have been threshed out in the inquest proceedings earlier. So now we just leave it to the inquest prosecutors to make the final determination if Sheila Guo and Cassie Ong should be charged in court for the various crimes that NBI complained of against them.
Are you confident about your case?
I think it's good. But I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We put it in the hands of the inquest prosecutors.
Okay. Let the legal system take care of it. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight. I hope you have a pleasant enough rest of the weekend. That's DOJ's Undersecretary Nicholas Ty.